Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that really tries to cut through all the noise and get you genuinely well informed. In today's world, it's just so easy to feel buried under this mountain of information, especially with complex policy changes. So, our mission here is to take that pile of articles, research, official docs, and just distill it down, get you the essential, actionable insights you actually need without getting bogged down in all the jargon. Today, we are taking a deep dive into some pretty significant waters, the 2025 policy updates from the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, specifically for injured federal workers. And we've really gone through a stack of critical sources for this one. We're talking official OWCP bulletins, transmittals. Those are, their official policy directives for anyone new to this, plus news from their medical bill processing portal, communications about providers, COLA updates from places like NRFE and GSA, press releases, even from new contractors like Sedgwick, and commentary from federal employee groups too, like the National Association of Letter Carriers.
Yeah.
A lot of material. Our mission really is simple. Pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from all of these sources, compare them to how things were in 2024, and then explain what these changes mean directly for you if you're the injured worker or maybe someone supporting them. I'm actually genuinely curious to unpack these because, well, they can make a real difference in people's lives.
And that's exactly why this deep dive is so crucial. Understand these nuances. It isn't just about, technical stuff. It directly impacts your benefits, your access to care, and really your overall ability to navigate a system that can often feel, well, overwhelming. Knowing these changes empowers you, lets you make informed decisions, and truly assert your rights.
Okay, let's jump right in then, because here's where it gets really interesting. There was this roller coaster ride around schedule award evaluations early in 2025. Felt like a bit of policy peekaboo, wouldn't you say?
Policy peekaboo. That's actually a pretty good way to put it.
Yeah.
Imagine, the collective sigh of relief, maybe cautious optimism among injured federal workers back in early January. So on January 7th, OWCP's Division of Federal Employees Compensation, that's DFEC, they issued FECA Transmittal 2503. And this temporarily changed how impairment ratings were done. It allowed doctors to use either the 5th or the 6th edition of the AMA guides.
Right, the AMA guides to the evaluation of permanent impairment.
Exactly. And this was a huge shift, because since 2009, only the 6th edition was strictly required. And, well, many felt the older 5th edition could actually give higher ratings for certain injuries.
Okay.
They even briefly introduced a new claim form, the CA9, just for this policy.
Wow. Okay, so potentially better ratings possible for a moment, and then just a month later, whiplash.
Whiplash is right. February 10th, OWCP completely reversed course, sent out Transmittal 2504. They revoked that initial change, went right back to the prior policy, only the 6th edition.
So the CA9 form.
Gone. Withdrawn. Claimants were told, go back to using the standard CA7 form.
What do you think really drove that incredibly swift pivot? I mean, that's fast for policy.
That is the fascinating question, isn't it? OWCP officially stated the reversal was for, quote, fairness and consistency. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, their authority to pick which guide to use, that comes straight from their own regulations, 20 CFR section 10.404. So legally, they were within their rights to change it and then change it back. However, those federal employee groups, like the NALC, the letter carriers, they had strongly supported, including the 5th edition, precisely because it might mean higher ratings sometimes, and they voiced significant disappointment when it was rescinded, you can imagine.
Absolutely. So for injured workers listening right now, what's the practical upshot? What does this quick flip-flop actually mean for them day to day in 2025? And does the fact that they even considered it, even for a month, tell us anything about maybe what's coming down the line?
Yeah, good question. The practical upshot for you is that for most of 2025, the rules are exactly what they were in 2024.
Yeah.
Your schedule awards. They're calculated exclusively with the AMA Guide 6th edition, period. So right now, there's no new advantage in how impairments get rated.
Okay, status quo.
Status quo. But the deeper insight, I think, is this. This back and forth really highlights that ongoing tension between, bureaucratic consistency on one side and the push for maybe more claimant-favorable policies on the other within OWCP itself. It's a reminder for you, as an injured worker, that even things that seem settled can be debated, advocated for, and maybe shift again. So it's definitely an area to stay tuned on, keep an eye on.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so from that policy pivot that, well, briefly raised hopes, let's turn to something that sounds like unequivocally good news. For patient access, efficiency, these new digital tools designed to cut through delays. What's the biggest improvement you saw here?
I think one of the most significant upgrades came in June 2025. It's a new feature for medical treatment authorizations. Providers can now upload supporting documents electronically right into an authorization request while it's still under OWCP review.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, through the OWCP medical portal, the WCMBP. Before this, if OWCP needed more info for an approval, maybe for physical therapy or something, the process was slow. Paper letters, faxes. You know the drill.
Oh, yes.
Now, if your PT request is on hold waiting for more info, your provider can just upload it online, and that triggers an alert straight to your claims examiner.
That sounds much better. That wasn't possible at all in 2024.
Nope, simply not possible for authorizations mid-review like that.
Okay, and what does this actually mean for you, the injured worker? How does this change your experience on the ground?
This is genuinely a refreshing step forward. Better access to care. You should see quicker decisions on medical authorizations, fewer times where you're just stuck waiting or having to resubmit requests.
Less chasing things down yourself.
Exactly. You might not have to play go-between as often.
Yeah.
Frees up your time, reduces frustration. The broader insight here, I think, is that OWCP is gradually moving toward a more transparent, digitally integrated system, which means for you, there are more levers to pull, fewer reasons to be stuck in information limbo if you know how to prompt your providers to use these new tools.
Right. So practical tip then.
Definitely. Make sure your provider knows about this feature and uses it. It helps everyone.
That really does sound like a genuine efficiency boost. Good stuff. But on the flip side, there's this new requirement about claimant identifiers on bills. It sounds like it could cause a few headaches if people aren't careful.
Absolutely. You've got to be
Right.
precise. Effective January 10, 2025, all medical bills your provider submits must include your OWCP case number or specific identifying info, your Social Security number, and your date of birth.
One or the other. Or both.
The guidance says case number or identifying information, SSN and DOB, but the case number is usually the most direct. The key thing is, bills submitted without this essential info, they will be rejected, returned unpaid.
Okay. It sounds like a classic case of, better technology, but still relies on human perfection. Doesn't matter how digital we get, that little case number still holds all the power. So what's the impact for us as injured workers?
Well, it definitely puts a greater emphasis on complete documentation, no question. The upside for you is, yes, more efficient processing, fewer errors, getting bills paid correctly when the information is there.
Right. The when.
The when is key. The downside is, any slip-up, any oversight, including this info, it halts payment. And that can cause significant delays, maybe even issues with your provider. So the insight here is that while the system aims for efficiency, it puts a higher premium on precision in your documentation, in your provider's documentation.
So maybe a gentle reminder to the doctor's office is a good idea.
A very good idea. Gently remind your medical offices. Please make sure my OWCP case number is on all bills and reports. It can save a lot of trouble.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about some of those more predictable annual adjustments and important clarifications around your financial situation, your ongoing rights. What's the latest on benefit increases? The CLA.
Right. The cost of living adjustment. For FECA benefit payments in 2025, the CLA is 2.8%. That became effective back in April 2025.
2.8%. Okay, so that's a bit lower than the 3.3% CLA we saw in 2024.
That's right, yeah. It reflects inflation moderating somewhat, but still, it's an increase. And this is automatic. You don't need to do anything to receive it if you're getting ongoing payments.
So for you folks receiving ongoing compensation, your payments will rise by that 2.8%. Anything else to keep in mind about how the COL applies?
Yeah, just a key point. If you're receiving ongoing compensation like for wage loss or certain permanent impairments paid over time, your payments go up by 2.8%. Smaller bump than last year, sure, but still helps keep up with inflation. Remember, schedule award lump sum amounts, or those calculated for a specific period for permanent impairment, those are not retroactively adjusted by COLA. Okay, good clarification.
It only applies to ongoing disability payments.
Gotcha. And what about travel reimbursement rates? Always important for getting to appointments, driving your own car, mileage.
Good news there, too. The 2025 rate for using your personal owned vehicle, your POV, is now 70 cents a mile.
70 cents. Oh,
Yep, $1.70 per mile. That's up from 67 per mile in 2024.
nice little increase.
It is. And it matches the standard federal mileage rate set by the GSA. So if you drive your own car to doctor visits, therapy, whatever, you'll get reimbursed at that higher rate for any travel after January 1st, 2025.
And you still need to submit the form for that,
Oh,
right?
yeah. You still need to use the OWCP Form 957. Make sure you're using the updated version to claim your travel reimbursement. And remember, that 1-year submission rule, where you have a year from the date of travel to submit the form, that hasn't changed, still applies.
Okay, good reminder on the deadline. Finally, in this section, there was a subtle but maybe important clarification about administrative closure of minor claims. What's the headline here for injured workers? Yeah, subtle but important is right. The headline is really about increased clarity and, frankly, protecting your rights. OWCP has officially renamed these situations. It's now called Administrative Authorization of Limited Benefits.
Okay, not short form closures anymore.
Right.
Oh.
Replaces that older term. But crucially, OWCP has explicitly clarified something important. They've stated that you, the injured worker, can request a formal adjudication, meaning a traditional review and a formal decision at any time if you want one.
Even if it was initially handled this administrative way.
Exactly. The criteria for using this administrative path haven't changed.
Yeah.
No medical costing below $1,500, no wage loss claim, things like that. Those remain the same. But the clarification about your right to ask for a formal decision anytime, that's the key takeaway.
That sounds like it could prevent a lot of potential headaches down the road. How does this specifically empower you, the injured worker?
It's a really significant tweak, I think. Directly addresses transparency, protects your right to get that official decision. Think about it. Say you had a minor injury handled administratively, quick, easy.
Right.
But then, maybe months or even years later, you develop complications from that same injury. Now you have clear confirmation from OWCP itself that you can go back and request a formal decision, get your claim officially accepted for that now complicated condition.
Ah, I see. So it keeps the door open.
Precisely. The insight is this strengthens your long-term position.
Huh.
It makes sure that a quick initial closure doesn't accidentally lock you out of future benefits if things get worse later on.
That's actually really helpful to know. Okay, now let's shift gears again. Let's look at some of the organizational changes. Support systems, stuff working behind the scenes that might still affect you. First up, there's a pretty major contract award for case management services. What does this mean for injured workers?
Yeah, big contract. In February 2025, OWCP awarded a new 5-year, $360 million contract. It went to Sedgwick Government Solutions, and it's for nurse case management and vocational rehabilitation services nationwide.
Okay, but these services aren't exactly new, right? OWCP has had nurses and VOC rehab folks for a while.
That's true, yeah. The services themselves aren't new. OWCP has had these programs for years. But bringing in a new contractor, like Sedgwick, might mean, fresh eyes. Maybe updated protocols, different approaches to the process. Could potentially improve the quality or maybe the speed of interaction. We'll have to see.
So if you're an injured worker, you might just be hearing from someone new, a Sedgwick nurse or VOC rehab specialist.
That's right. For you, this means you might get contacted by a nurse case manager, maybe early in your claim, or by a vocational specialist if you have longer-term work restrictions that might prevent you going back to your old job.
And is participation, is it voluntary? Is it generally a good idea to engage with them?
Good questions. Yes, participation is still technically voluntary, but generally speaking, engaging with them is usually beneficial, really. They can often help speed up authorizations for treatment. They can help clarify treatment plans between your doctor and OWCP, which can get complicated.
Yeah.
They can act as a helpful liaison, kind of navigate the system with you. So yeah, usually a valuable resource.
Okay, good to know. And then there was also that organizational realignment. At the Department of Labor, end of 2024, they separated the federal and the private sector workers' comp programs again, back into 2 divisions. Does this actually impact you, the federal employee on the ground?
Yeah, that happened late last year. From a practical standpoint for you as a federal employee, this is largely an internal organizational shuffle, really. We now have DFEC, the Division of Federal Employees Compensation, handling all the FECA cases. That's you. And then DLHWC handles the longshore and harbor worker type cases.
So mostly just different letters on the letterhead.
Pretty much, yeah. You might just notice DFEC on communications now, instead of the older merged acronym DFELHWC. It's essentially bureaucratic housekeeping, trying to ensure clarity in the agency structure. It really has no direct impact on your benefits or the processes you go through.
Okay, that's reassuring. So bottom line, our appeal rights still just as strong. No changes there from this shuffle.
Exactly. Your appeal rights are absolutely as robust as ever. The process itself is unchanged. You still have that 90-day window to request reconsideration from the district office. You still have 30 days from a reconsideration decision to request a hearing before OWCP's branch of hearings and review. And you still have 180 days from either a hearing decision or a reconsideration decision to appeal up to the Employees' Compensation Appeals Board. ECIB.
Same structure, same deadline.
Same structure, same deadlines. And it's also worth noting ECIB decisions coming out in 2025. They continue to reference updated policies, like, for example, that 60-day fault rule for direct deposit overpayments. That was clarified back in 2024.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, it basically says if you got an electronic payment after returning to work, you're generally not considered at fault for the overpayment if it happened within 60 days of your return.
Yeah.
Gives you time to notice and report it. So for you, the listener, your appeal rights are firm, same deadline, same options. The key is just knowing, which division handles your case, now DFEC, and making sure any rules or guidance you look at are current.
Okay, great summary on appeals. So let's try to wrap this all up. We've covered a lot of ground on these 2025 OWCP policy updates. Big picture. What does this all mean for you as an injured federal worker?
Looking at everything, it feels like the updates generally continue that trend we've seen.
Yeah.
Modernization, clarification, trying to make things, well, maybe a bit better overall for navigating the system.
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah.
Claims processing seems to be getting more efficient, especially with those digital tools we talked about. Your benefits are keeping pace with inflation, even if it was modest TCOA this year. Travel reimbursements are up.
Right. Tangible improvements. But that big anticipated change, the schedule award impairment ratings using the 5th edition, that briefly raised hopes for some, but ultimately it reverted back to the status quo.
That's right. That makes it an area to definitely keep watching for the future. The debate isn't necessarily over.
And importantly, as you said, your core rights remain strong.
Absolutely crucial. You still have the right to choose your treating physician, within reason, of course. You can file claims electronically using ECAB. You can appeal decisions. And those timeframes haven't changed. And in fact, some of these clarifications, like the one about administrative authorization of limited benefits, they actually explicitly strengthen your ability to get that formal decision later if you need it.
Okay, so final thoughts then. What does this all mean for your next steps? What should people listening be doing?
Well, the big message is always stay informed and be proactive. Don't be passive in this system.
Yeah.
Make sure, absolutely sure, that all your submitted forms, and maybe more importantly, your provider's submissions, have that necessary identifying information. That OWCP case number is key now.
Double check those bills.
Exactly. Engage with any assigned case managers or vocational rehab specialists. Remember, they can actually be a real asset in moving things along, expediting care.
Use them as a resource.
Use them as a resource. And absolutely, utilize the digital tools OWCP offers, like eComp. Get comfortable with it if you aren't already. And maybe the most important piece of advice, always, keep detailed records of everything. Phone calls, letters, forms submitted, doctor's notes.
Everything. It's truly a game changer when you need to refer back to something, right? Prove a point later on.
Absolutely. It can make all the difference. Look, the journey through federal workers' compensation, it can definitely be challenging. We know that. But being well-informed, knowing about these 2025 updates, it makes a significant difference in navigating it successfully. While the system is undeniably complex, it is evolving and generally trying to evolve to serve you better. Knowing these updates empowers you to take full advantage of what's available to assert your rights effectively.
So the final thought might be, the real power isn't just in the policies themselves, but in your ability to understand them, use them, and make them work for you to get the care and benefits you're entitled to.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly it. Knowledge is power in this system.